Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on Logic Before Authority. Continuing my work and continuing to understand and be able to see things that I've known my whole life but could not see. And I'm going to share a few of those with you today. Also a few additional things, answers to things I've said before. Anyways, you know the image that you're looking at. Most of you know that it's from the occult video iPet Goat, or iPet Goat 2. And I've been thinking about this quite a bit more. And there's some things, I'm not sure on something. I know that this represents two suns, two Tauruses, two stars, two something like that. A second sun kind of thing, okay? If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, you got to go back to the previous video where I'm talking about this, which is a couple of videos back. But let's keep the two stars in mind, and let's keep looking here. Let's wait a minute, wrong direction. I want to take you back over here. Let's see, where is it? So we were looking at these deities because they are in this video, the iPet Goat video. These are stars. They are stars in the heavens. They are deities. They are angels, maybe even fallen angels, ones that would not keep their path. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or it sounds like I'm talking crazy, then you just showed up late to class is all. And of course it wouldn't make sense. But you can see the star on his chest. He has a mask of a reptile or a frog on. And I'm going to show you that what might be the frog in reference, okay? It's a new constellation that they just named, actually. And guess where the frog is at? The frog is at Virgo. Okay, it's at the feet of Virgo. The reptile is at the feet of Virgo. And no, I'm not saying this is the dragon, okay? I'm not saying that at this point. What I'm saying is it's a new constellation they claim, and they say it's at the feet of Virgo. Virgo, the woman, her, okay? Might as well consider her like all women in existence, or you could call it Eve, okay? And you remember another one here had a bear mask on, and it's considered to be a deity, either a constellation of stars or one individual star. And I'm not positive on this yet, but I'm just going to show you some things that are possibilities. And here's the other one, of course, which is like an eagle or a hawk, or obviously a bird of prey here that we're looking at, okay? Or at least it appears to be, okay? But we're talking about a deity, and that deity can be seen. That will be more familiar to you if I go back to here. Okay, that's an image out of there also. That's another deity. That is Shiva. It's the one that is in the circle of fire, the Taurus, that sits beside beside CERN in Switzerland and over there, you know. It's that symbol of Shiva at CERN is mostly, it's somewhat two-dimensional. It doesn't show you that it's a full encasement, a wheel inside of a wheel, an actual torus that she dances within. That's what the stars, the deities, are. Just like the angels that have come to me in excess of over 50 different times, and over 100 different angels have come to me in front of me many times, as I've talked about in the past. But so Shiva, we know, we've heard of that one a lot. It's a deity, okay, a host of the heavens kind of thing. But I suspect it's more of a fallen one. But anyways, whether I'm right or wrong on that, let's keep those other ones in mind, okay, including this one, which looks more like a Satan type figure, okay. But let's go on back down here and continue with what we're talking about. Oh, I did want to point out the constellations here again. You can see that the bird up in the up in the upper right-hand corner. Let me see if you can see it even better on this one. Yeah, a little bit. You can see that that's imagery, an image of a bird, a likeness, okay? Same thing over here with Scorpio, okay? The scorpion, the constellation in the skies. So they may be talking about constellations or specific deities, maybe both, okay? And so let's keep going here, because, yeah. Okay, so here we have the Bear constellation, right? Some people call this, I think they call it the Big Dipper, you know. And if I misidentify one of these a little bit, don't set me on fire, because I'm not an expert at anything. I'm just knowledgeable about a lot of things. And I have eyes to see and ears to hear, thank God. Now here is the eagle, Aquila. Okay, so you have the eagle constellation. Okay, we have the bear constellation. But what is this? Well, I'll show you what this is. Oh, I'll come back to that in a second. This is the frog, the new constellation, Arcturus. Or actually, that star is called Arcturus, but the constellation itself, they're saying that it's Rana Varus, okay? And it sits right at the feet of Virgo. And I have an image of that. Hang on. So here, this isn't the best image. This is one I grabbed real quick. It shows that star Arcturus. And then you can also see Spica, which Spica is one of the stars from Virgo. Okay, and you can see the diamond of Virgo referred to there, okay? And we have here, it's called the kite, but they're now claiming it is a frog, a reptile, okay? And I find that interesting, because we're trying to understand what constellations that they are referring to, and so that we can understand more about what's going on and how it plays into, because every bit of this will play right into Scripture, I guarantee you, okay? And there we have the Big Dipper again, right? The other constellation we were talking about. So the Big Dipper is also very close to Virgo, okay? It's further away than this image makes it look, but it's there, okay? What happened? Oh, I remember what happened. Hang on. So you can remember I made the statement that they're trying to, what they're doing and what they're showing in I Pet Goat is going back to the beginning. But the beginning, the garden, they're trying to go back to the garden. And one of y'all guys, and you know which one you are, made a comment about this album. And I'm going to read this album, or read one of the songs out of this album at the end. Okay, I'm going to come back and read it, because it is very pertinent to what we're talking about here and some of the things we're going to be talking about. You can see through the symbolism used on the album that you can see the Taurus right there in with the Atlantic, okay, with the A, the Alpha, okay. You can see that there. And their lyrics literally are talking about what we're talking about, and we're going to come back to that. But for the moment, we're gonna skip. Okay. You remember when the Son of God came, when Christ came upon the earth, there was a bright star, the star of Bethlehem, right? What was that? Okay. What was it? Well, I could say a number of things as to what it was and what it represented, but you have to realize that everything that happens on earth happens in heaven, okay? As on earth, so in heaven. Everything that happened here, it's all symbolized in the heavens, all the big events that happen here and everything that's going on, everything, it's like a mirror image, and you'll understand more about why I say that in just a minute. It's an image, it's a reflection, it's it's us looking at ourselves, or God looking at himself. A reflection, just like the sun and the moon. I don't believe the sun and the moon are actually images. That we're looking at images, reflections. And you're going to understand by the end of this video what the sun and moon really are, or at least a better understanding. And I'm going to show you, and you're going to kind of find out why they're called, or why they could be called the two thieves, because they deceive us. But also why I'm calling them the two thieves. Okay, it's going to be pretty interesting. I literally had a vision yesterday, and it hit me clear as day, and I can't wait to disclose it here in just a minute. Some of you guys might have a clue what this image is, but it was, I think it was Switzerland, where they had the big spiral that came up back in, what was it, 2017 or somewhere's around in there. The big Switzerland spiral that spiraled out, and then, now it was likely that they used a rocket to do that or something. Although it could have been supernatural in nature, but if you go reading about it, they claim it was probably a rocket doing it or something. But the image that it produced is right down the alley of the subject matter that we're speaking about. You can see that it obviously looks like an olive, or more specifically an eye, and basically, or a torus, the spinning of it, the way it spun up, okay? And I happened to start looking to see if any of these have been seen anywhere else, these spirals in the sky, and, well, they have. This was another one that was seen a couple of years ago, supposedly, and photographed, and then this one was photographed way up in the north, as you can see. It was photographed during the northern lights showing themselves, a spiral. And what's so interesting to me is because this is the image that we've been talking about. It's the natural flow and order of our world, okay? Literally, W-H-I-R-L-E-D, world. We don't live exactly where you think we may live. And here we go with some noise. Hang on, guys. Okay, well, the noise has calmed down. I'll be surprised if it don't start again, because it was going on before I was trying to make the video over and over. There was interruptions. This kind of stuff happens all the time, and I just work through it. So we're looking at the swirl, right? So I've talked about heaven being a swirl, the whirlwind. God in the Bible has always talked about speaking out of the storm, out of the whirlwind. It uses the word whirlwind, and if you look it up, it says storm. It's referring to a torus, a hurricane, the shape of the whirlwind. Okay, but if God is in that image, then Satan would want to be in that image as well. He's a copier, a deceiver, a liar, an accuser. And here's an example of that. This was an occult member, an artist that was an occult member back in the 1800s. And this is his depiction of Satan. And you can see, like it says, 1893, front of the masterpiece grill, and there's his name, Cyril Kolnick or something like that. And this is the bigger image, which is the swirl, which is the torus, okay? Just like what we've been talking about for quite a while now. And over here, we have him again. There's some interesting things here. Now we see the swirl, and we see the vines and things that look like they're natural, that would grow on this earth, because they take this image, this swirl. But also notice that he has a horn up here, okay? You got the swirl and the horn. Like the shofar, for instance, is that swirling horn that they blow through, because it creates that unique sound that's caused by the swirling of the air, right? But he is the prince of what? Prince of the air, okay? But here we have this torus swirl once again, right? Here's another piece of his art that I just couldn't help but bring up. And when you both images on the left and the right are the same image. One is, the lighting is just different, so you can see some details better in each one. When you first look at this, you say, what are we looking at here? Okay. I mean, we can recognize some of the symbolism, you know. Obviously, you got two cherubs, one on the left and one on the right. Yeah, cherubs because they have wings. They're cherubims, okay? And we got a crown, and above the crown we have another crown, a crown of thorns, like, okay? But then you come down, and what is that? Well, it's the image of a mirror. It's a mirror. It's to show you, it's saying through symbolism what this is, okay? What you're looking at is your own face in the mirror, okay? With the crown on your head, symbolizing the God that the light of God, the spark of God that exists within you. At least that's what I see, and I just wanted to share it with you. Okay. And this was another piece of his art, I guess you would call it. His graven images, kind of. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, he's an occult member, obviously. Another piece of his art. So I'm not going to spend too much more time on that, but I did want to show it to you. Let's get back to some things we've been talking about. I said this in the other video before, and I didn't follow through with it, meaning I didn't show you this image. This is the image of where it looks like shark fins or waves out of the ocean coming up through the floor. Most of you that have seen these, and they kind of move backwards and forth a little bit, okay? And I, like everybody else, didn't know what they were for quite a long time until I realized that what this is imagery of the heavens, okay? And that these little avatars, okay, wearing the masks, okay, like that one wearing the reptile mask, they are symbolism for a star or either a constellation, okay? That's what this is. It's showing up in the heavens. So if we're up in the heavens, then what are these waves representing? And when does this happen? It shows these waves come right before the coming of the second sun. Okay? Remember the gargoyle with the two eyes and the birth of him coming through on the water, right? Well, let me show you what it is. It's the new age. It's Aquarius. It's Aquarius coming in, just like I've talked about before. It's the end of the age and the beginning of the age of Aquarius. So there you go. So now we know. Thank God for showing me and helping me understand all these things. I'm very grateful to our Father in heaven for this knowledge. And I'm doing my job, which is to share it with you so that we can all see. Now, some of you have seen this image before, right? It's the red dragon in the heavens. You know, red dragon in the heavens. Well, where is the red dragon in the heavens? Right? Looks like binary stars, don't it? Looks like two suns. Looks like two stars. Two angels, two deities. Okay? It's kind of what it looks like. I don't know if those are supposed to be in this imagery like eyes or what exactly, or if it's nostrils, because the nostrils of the dragon are spoken about quite a bit, about smoke coming out of his nostrils and things like this. But it's interesting where this is at, and I don't know why I didn't realize it before, but it's in Virgo. It's down here. Let's see, Jupiter, September 23rd, 2017, Jupiter was almost in that corner that you can see right between her legs, between Virgo's legs, right? And look where the dragon is at. It's blocked out by that little square because Google View or Google Earth has it blocked out. Unless you go and you look it up in the infrared, the red, meaning hence the red dragon, because you can't, all you can see is just a little piece of it, the side of it there, as you can see. And they've got most of it blocked out. But that's what's in between the Virgin's legs, waiting on the birth of the new king, right? Okay, the coming new king when Christ returns. But of course, the dragon would be there, and he wants to be like God. He wants to have his own son, which is going to be the Antichrist. You see, the coming of the Antichrist is the opposite of the coming of Christ. It's the Antichrist. It's the opposite, but similar imagery. And it's all going to play out in that way. That's why we see so much of this building people up and then burning them down thing, like they symbolizing with Trump, building him up and then seemingly burning him down, which really ultimately is not happening because he is an actor on the stage of the world just like the rest of them. And I know some of you still love that billionaire, but you're allowing yourself to be deceived by the two thieves that are right on the front of your face. And we're going to talk more about that very specifically here in a minute. So the red dragon is in between the legs of the Virgin. And we know that several other of the constellations that are shown in iPet Goat, I need to verify it a little bit more, but apparently they're right there. You see, when makes a lot of sense. You see, the Christ was supposed to be born into the tribe of Judah, right? The lion. He was out of that tribe, basically, right? What is the star system that rises in the morning times that, or certain times of the year, of course, in the eastern sky rises? You get Leo, the lion, the tribe of Judah, the lions being symbolized. And, you know, the 12 stars in the crown. Why 12? Well, you know, there were 12 tribes, and you can think all of this, but there's another reason. There's a heavenly reason. I don't know if it represents the 12 cycles that we go through here on earth over thousands and thousands of our years, you know, with the illusion of time. Or what for sure, but yeah. I think obviously it's pretty obvious, like I've said. If it's happening in the heavens, it's happening on earth. If it's happening on earth, it's happening in the heavens. You say, well, how's that possible? It's divine. So here's another image there showing Leo and the red dragon where he sits at, the actual red dragon in the heavens. Is this what they're symbolizing as coming forth? And what is this really? Will it show up in the heavens shining bright like a diamond, like they sung about in the Super Bowl? Maybe. That's what we're trying to make sure of right now, isn't it? See, and I'm not the first person to ever figure this out, too, when it comes to this dragon being here and where it's at and how it's associated. All right, let's see. I think that's the coordinates of the red dragon if you want to look it up. But you're going to have to go to the infrared spectrum to be able to see it. Makes sense. A red dragon's gonna be in the red infrared, you know. Okay, let's keep going, because got some more to show you. You see this, this is an interesting image. I'm not going to comment too much on it. It's obvious as to what it looks like, the image overall itself, but then there have been arrows drawn in. But I've stated before that the symbol of the Nazi thing and the black star symbolism that came out of Germany, I believe it was, or I think came out of Germany, could have come from somewhere else, but it's a clock. It's a clock of the heavens. And as you can see, the Big Dipper, or the bear, goes in a circle around the North Star. I find that fascinating. Okay, so now we're kind of still on the same ball of subject, but we're going to take a look at something else. We're going to talk a little bit more about the tree, and particularly the live oak tree, because I have one, I can see it from here, that I have recently found out that there's a, in this huge tree, there is a boa constrictor that's living in the tree. And I found that out, and then I actually went over there one day and a baby was sticking his head out. And there's, you know how many babies a normal boa constrictor has? 60. So in that tree, there's likely about 60 boa constrictors in there. Somewhere's in there. And I find it fascinating too that the serpent has 60 babies. Pretty interesting, the number itself, right? Okay, so this is another image of a live oak. I don't know where this one's at, okay? But I wanted you to look at the genesis of the tree, the genes, the acorn, okay? Because it has things hidden right on it that you now may be able to see, depending on how loyal you are to watching my videos. Okay, now this is kind of, you could say, upside down, okay, but you can see that the acorn itself is in the shape of a torus. It's tapered on both ends, which we can see. I have some more images here. You can see it's in the shape of kind of like an egg, but it's in the image of a torus, okay, and it has a cap on its head. The cap on its head, if you look very closely, as close as we can get, you have the image of the Christa Galli, and the wings of the cherubims are in there. You know how, like on a pineapple, it has those spiky things all around the entire pineapple? That is the imagery of the like the point of creation, and the wings on each side. It's on the pineapple, and it's on many other things as well. And I got to looking at this and realized it was on here as well. Plus, of course, the leaves are in the image of the point of creation, the Vesca Pisces, okay, as well. Okay, now let's take a look at some pine cones. Pine cones, you're going to be able to see the same stuff I was just trying to explain, but it's harder because you can't see it as good on that acorn. But you can see it on here. This is of a cedar tree out of Lebanon, these images. Okay? It's like a flower, but it's not exactly a flower. It has petals, but it's not what we would consider to be a flower, but it is, because it's a point of creation. The seeds of the cedar tree are produced in here, and there's something to be seen and learned. These are them when they're younger, and haven't, you might say, developed or ripened, because it is the fruit of the tree. Just happens to be a cedar tree. Here it is again, reminds me of a beehive, of course. And bee symbolism, hive mind, all that kind of stuff they love to talk about and love to understand and conquer and use it for evil. Here's another one. But let's take a closer look. Let's come on over here. Okay. There. Now, what you're looking at there is in the image of the point of creation. It's also in the image of your face. And you're going to understand that, why I say that as well. It's in the image of God. It's in the image of heaven and earth. At the very top, you can see that there's a point, okay? That's similar in imagery to the Christogalli in your forehead. And then there is a small wing right below it. And then there is a larger wing below it. You see? That's the larger wing. And the smaller wing is just above it, right there in the center, with the point right in the center. Now, that is in the image of the Christogalli, the point of creation, you see, which exists right in your forehead, which I've shown you before. There it is again. And it's worth mentioning the thorns laying on the ground, the needles. I think a needle would be in the image of a thorn. I think you would agree. Okay, here is one of those same pine cones with the petals broken off. You can still see some of the petals there that haven't been broken off. But look at what's in the middle. It's the imagery of the phallic symbol, okay? It's also the imagery of the eye of the storm, kind of. Look. Okay. Can you see the rotating eye of the storm? Those black spots, they're all in a exact mathematical sacred geometry 369 mathematical layout. Okay, you can see, and you can look at it and you can see it in one direction flowing up, but if you turn your head to the left, you'll see it rotating in the opposite direction, or vice versa. Okay, hopefully you see that. And here you can see the petal, the flower petal. Yes, it's not soft, and yes, it's not pink or blue or red, but it's a petal. It's a flower petal. It's laying right there at the point of creation. Okay? You can see the big wing in the back right there, the smaller wing down here in the front, and right where it attaches to the eye of the storm, the point of creation, the place where we exist. Okay? And we have this big flower, this big torus that fans out around us in all directions. And you can see it simply by looking at the stars moving in the heavens at night in a circle. You can look south, you can look north. Yes, I know NASA told you a bunch of lies, and it's going to be hard to get that out your head, but I'm telling you the truth. Here's another one, and you can see the same thing. See the rotating eye of the storm like a tornado flowing up? This is why they love the what do they call them? They call it like the Washington Monument. What was it they call the one that's in the center of Washington D.C. I forget what it's called right at the moment. Anyways, that it's the symbol of the penis, basically. The penis with the serpent swirling around it, which is why your penis has what looks similar to a snake head. It's in the image of the serpent. Now, why God chose to set it up like this, I don't have the complete answer to that yet, but you better believe I'm working on it. Okay, yeah, you can see, here's one, you can see those petals again better here. The Christa Galli with the wings on each side, they're very small, but you can see them in the acorn, in the cap of the acorn. Hopefully you can see what I'm trying to show you there, because you better believe it's there. Ah, yes, the serpent. The serpent. Not exactly positive why I saved this imagery of rings being wrapped around the fingers being related to the serpent somehow, but I suspect it is. But not making any judgments. I was looking at diamonds too in the way they're cut. Pretty much like an energetic part of the torus that does exist, but I'm not going to get into explaining that today. Seven diamonds, 7 stars, 7 churches. Anyways, let's see. Some of this stuff I saved, and I'm not sure why I saved it, like that one. But let's keep going, because I've got something fantastic. Well, actually, several things fantastic to show you. Well, unfortunately, this being one of them. Do you see what you're looking at? You know what I just told you about the penis and how it fits into the point of creation, and how all creation is based on that symbolism. Okay? Not only that symbolism, the energy flow, it's too big for me to even try to explain. I don't even have the language to explain it all. But I do think that most of you can understand what the image that's inside the serpent's mouth represents. Any of y'all ladies have a guess? And no, this is no criticism or damnation of anybody. We're here, we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to serve our good purpose, okay? And this is undeniable. Oh. The narrow path, because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. I'm going to come back to that later. I found this interesting that NASA finds dragon bones on Mars, they claim, which is all nonsense, but there's symbolism here that they're showing us. If you remember in the story of the woman and the dragon in the heavens, you'll remember that there is a battle that takes place, okay? And Mars is considered to be the god of war, according to them, okay? And for them to be saying they've seen an imagery of a dragon there is significant. I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about this specifically, but it is very interesting. And they even claim they found a hole. Now the thing is, the truth behind this is they're up in the Arctic, above the Arctic ring, filming all this stuff. This imagery that's coming from this kind of stuff is all coming out of the Arctic. They're not on Mars. They don't have a rover on Mars. That is all deception and lies of the serpent, of the dragon that they're even talking about here, okay? Thought that ring was kind of interesting because it spun out into the image of a wheel within a wheel, or the torus, right? And I thought I better remind some of you what a torus is. There are many different versions or looks or images, let's say images, of a torus, but generally it's a donut or something like this, okay, that looks like the apple. Or you could say it looks like many types of fruit. And if you look at it from top down when it's moving, looks like a hurricane or a supercell thunderstorm. These are different ways that you can look at it. Like top down. From the side, when you look at it from the side, of course it looks like eyes. Or it looks like the face of an owl, right? It's interesting that an owl has that because his head also turns around like nearly 360 degrees to show that, in fact, it is a torus that's being symbolized in the creation of the owl. Here's another view. This is kind of an inside view, you might say. And they're building one of these. They call it a star in a bottle at CERN. And why you reckon they building this star in a bottle? I've got some suspicions and have shared them before. There's the inside of the eye of like a hurricane, and the bands that spread out from around are all the bands that exist in the energy flow of a torus. And where you see the lines cross at are what's called nodal points. Those nodal points are where the thunderstorms flare up in the bands, as they call them, of a hurricane. And there's reasons why I'm showing you all of this. Some of it's refresher, but you'll see here in a second it's even more important. So some of you probably know what I'm getting ready to show you, but I bet the high majority of you do not know. And if you don't mind, when I show you, if you didn't know, or maybe some of the things you didn't understand, but now you understand, leave it in the comments below. Now, this is what they call sacred geometry. I've talked about it many, many times, of course, and the torus is based on this. And creation is based on this, and it was considered to be the most valuable thing found in Solomon's temple. And it was the knowledge of how energy flow works in our world, not only in this world, but in the world above, heaven, because it's in the same image. And you can see the Vesca Pisces, which I talk about quite often, with the eye in the middle, which is the point of creation, or is the image of a point of creation. You can see the egg of life, which an egg, when a woman's egg is fertilized, it immediately starts developing in that image. And flowers and fruit and pretty much everything in our world follows these designs in one way or another. Tree of life, flower of life, yeah. Okay. These are like some 3D examples, more of a 3D look of some of those. They're not the exact same thing. Here's some more imagery. Notice how everything is in a circle, like its own containment, its own gated area, like how the garden was gated. It was cut off. The Garden of Eden was cut off, and there was a boundary all the way around. It's all the same symbolism, stacked and viewed and looked at from different angles, different perspectives, different ways of thinking. Just like the human placenta showing the tree of life on it that I showed y'all guys recently. Yep, the placenta, paradise. Yep, this reminded me of, for whatever reason, it reminded me of the story of the Garden of Eden. How their legs and everything from their private areas are all wound together like serpents, right? Yet above the waist, it's not that way. It's kind of, I'm not sure on that exactly, but it's interesting. And of course, this is a storm that was setting off the coast here just about a week ago, and showed us the image of a torus spinning with the eye, which is the point of creation, which is where we exist on the big scale. That was one that was developing down in the Gulf. All right, so we talked about Taurus, we talked about point of creation, we talked about a lot of different things already, obviously. One thing I realized is when the story of the woman and the dragon, and it talks about the dragon's tail that took a third of the stars out of the heavens, it said, right? Remember that? When you're looking at a torus, you have to understand that when the Bible talks about the pit, it's talking about the eye of the storm, or the eye of the torus, or it's a reference to the pit, meaning the bottom, the bottomless pit, which there is no bottom, because in a torus, or the energy flow of a tornado, everything that goes down will loop around and come back again. But I know that doesn't match the language of when you go to hell, you stay there. But we're talking about, we're not quite that far along in trying to understand it yet, I guess. But it makes me think that this is imagery of the tail of the dragon, because it's creating destruction on the ground, like the tail of the dragon would do, you know? And not to mention that it looks like it, especially in this image. I think symbolically I'm probably 100% correct here. But I can be wrong, just like with anything, but I hope I'm not. I do my best. All right, just some other interesting images. You can see the torus. You see how it's all spinning? It's all one big body, a supercell. See, I think there was like that. It's like a small version of a hurricane, but the energy flow is virtually the same. All right, oh, there's another one. See, those are those ridges. It's all about the flow of the torus. And you can see up top what looks like a crown, where the energy flows up and out and away once it reaches up there. It's pretty wild. How many times does the Bible talk about lightning and storms and whirlwinds? And yeah. Do you see it? This is no big deal. This is just, I made a copy of it because this is supposedly this new app. And of course you got the orb with the royal purple in it, and it's swirling like a wheel within a wheel when you pull up the app. Da Vinci, the Da Vinci Code. It's all about this same story. Pretty much everything is this day. Now I'll talk to you about the crystal galley that's in your forehead. Okay, but I've come to understand something else that's beautiful, and I wanted to show it to you. The understanding of it cleared some things up even for me, and I seen this in a vision yesterday. So you see the cross, the image of the cross, right? And you see the veil that's hanging on it. This exists in your forehead, right between your eyes. And the crystal galley sticks up a little bit above your eyes. Okay? Now, I could get a lot more into that, but I want you to see something. Here it is again. You can see where it says crystal galley, right there. Okay? Now, if that is the image of God within you, image of the cross, image of the veil, okay? Because we do have a veil that exists where? In front of our eyes. Okay? So why is there... Well, let's back up. I'll ask that question in a second. Do you see how this looks like a butterfly? Do you see how a butterfly is in the image of this and what it means? That a butterfly is in the image of the Ark of the Covenant with the cherubims on it. But it also means you are too. And you have two orbs on each side of the crystal galley, the two orbs. But what are the two orbs? They're the two eyes. They're 2 points. They're in the image of 2 points of creation. With the eye, with the pupil, the center of the storm. Okay? But here's what it made me realize. It's another image of this same similar thing. You can see how the crystal galley, the cross that's in between your eyes, rises up a little bit higher than the eyes on each side. And what are eyes known as? What are they? They're deceivers. Because if you're not focusing, making your eye single, taking the narrow path, if you're not doing that, you're going to be deceived by this world through your eyes. And who deceives? Who deceives? Well, you're going to know in a second. And I'm going to show you one more thing. Y'all guys remember this ship? This was the U-Haul truck that they said tried to ram into the White House just, a week ago? And the U-Haul ship, the U-Haul truck had a ship on it on fire. Okay? Wasn't it the Mayflower? Or was it Noah's Ark? What are they symbolizing? They're symbolizing her, right? Ships are all known as her, and they give birth. They bring products around, and they give birth. And they're in the image of the crystal galley. They're in the image of a point of creation. Don't believe me? Okay, dokie. Look at this image. This image is in your forehead. If you were inside your head looking forward and seeing the bone, what do you see? Well, you see the front of a boat coming directly at you. Is one of the ways you could look at this. It's the imagery in the image of it's a boat coming directly at you. Do you see the bow on the boat right in the front? It rises up. Okay. Do you see the wings or the sails on each side? You should be able to see how that right there looks like a boat. And it has its mast up. See the mast right in the center? The mast is up, and the sails, aka the wings, are out. And you have two wings up high, and then you have like basically two sets of wings. That's pretty hard to deny that looks like the Ark. The Ark. Now, let's look at, we're almost there to talk about the two deceivers, okay? But I got a couple more things to show you real quick. You should understand now because of the things we've talked about. Why a virgin has a veil over her face? Because her face and the virgin herself, the veil literally should be in front of her whole body, which is basically it is, because she has the whole entire dress on, the whole entire white dress of purity, right? Everything is veiled. But when it comes time for a wedding, her face is even veiled. It's related to the point of creation and the fact that a woman brings forth life into the world. And in God's world, like with the Ark of the Covenant, there was the veil, and only Moses was allowed to go in there. And there was maybe one high priest or something like that, but basically it was like one man, one male, no women, okay? Now, here he is, you have the virgin, she's veiled. Who gets to remove the veil and to enter into the point of creation? And ultimately to produce children and produce the genesis, the seed of their life. The one male is what it's supposed to be. Just like everything we've been talking about. If y'all guys if all this stuff clicks in your head together at some point, which I'm hoping it does, your mind should be blown just like mine. And of course, the garter belt, the Gardner belt the garter belt represents symbolism of the cutoff that exists around the garden, the point of creation, the Garden of Eden, the belt. And where's it at? Right up her thigh, next to her what? Point of creation. It's symbolizing the guarding of that. And who gets to remove and enter the garden? Well, the husband. Now, if you go read, it says the origins and history of the garter belt wedding tradition. If you go and read that, what they said, it's complete nonsense. What I'm telling you is the truth. Even if you look at the garter belt itself, its design tells you part of the story. You see the petals, you see the bow, the belt, holding it tight. Its location, everything confirms the story. I think I'm going to skip that because we've talked about that. And we've talked about that. Okay. It is what it is, and it's not profane. This information and these things, such as the male body, the female body, it's not profane unless you intend evil. Okay. All right. Hang on just a second. Okay, so look, we all know this is what they call Freemasonic Masonism. Symbolism. Masonism, what did I say? Symbolism. I'm a little tired. Okay. I'm not going to talk about everything here because I've talked about a lot of it already. Okay. But what I'm going to show you, and then I've got a couple of other images to show you, is going to clear something up. You'll be able to see it clearly now. Okay. We talked about the image of the face. We talked about the Christi Galli in the middle. It's always sitting a little higher. Where God exists within you sits a little higher above your eyes, just a little bit, the Christi Galli itself. And you have the two eyes on either side. You have the two orbs, the round orbs, okay, that are also in the image of point of creation. Okay, now let's think about if the heavens are in the image of us, if God is in the image of heaven and earth is in the image of each other, like the Bible talks about. If that's correct, then we should be able to look at this image here and see a great truth. And I'm sure they know this. Okay. All right. So we see what would be symbolism for like the third eye or the single eye or the one eye symbolism in the middle on the top. They call it the all-seeing eye, all these things. And then there's the sun and the moon on each side of that. You can see the sun in the upper left and moon in the upper right. And of course, there's a lot more things we could talk about here. You got the other two orbs set on top of the pillars. But we're talking, those represent you, your body, in a way. And I could explain it, but I've explained it before. But the sun and the moon, they're the only two orbs that we can see in the heavens, that we can see that they are in fact round, or look and appear in the image to be round. And then, as they show in this symbolism, they have the eye, which is slightly above. As you can see, it's a little bit higher above the level of the sun and the moon. It represents the point of creation in your forehead. The sun and the moon represent the eyes. Not only that, they don't just represent it in you, they represent it in the heaven. The sun and the moon are in the image of our face, okay? The sun and the moon are they're basically like our eyes. They are points of creation. They're involved in creation. We all know this. And what I've come to understand is that, yes, they move around. Our perception of them changes. There's day and night, and they move through the skies on an exact path. We know that. But what I'm saying is that the sun and the moon are, in this symbolism, they represent, they're in the image of our face, the eyes, the left and the right eye, okay? And there's more I could go into with that, but I'm going to show you another image. This one. Let's take notice of everything, because if you don't use your eyes to carefully look and study at things in this world, you're going to be deceived. That's why your eyes are known as deceivers, because they can deceive you. They're also known, just like someone who tries to deceive you, what are they doing? They're lying to you. They're maybe even stealing from you. They're trying to deceive you. So your eyes are the cross on the left and the cross on the right, the two thieves. The cross in the middle is representative of the cross in your forehead, the Christ of Galilee, and the cross that is that area, which also shows that I showed you, shows the ark coming straight at you, okay, in your own forehead. And notice that it's sitting on a hill, top of a hill, like a crest, like the top of something, like the top of your body. And think about where they said Christ was crucified. Golgotha, the skull. That's what Golgotha means, the skull. And where was Christ crucified in Golgotha? In between the two eyes. That's right. Now, many of you have seen this imagery as well, the image of a veil or a cloth being laid across the cross, like you see here. You got the veil, which exists. This is symbolism for the veil being in front of the point of creation. And the same imagery, you can see it in yourself. We can also see it in the imagery of the story of Noah, as also the story of Moses, and I'm sure many other ones probably. But I hope that you can now see why these were called the two thieves, one on either side, okay? And yeah, I know I could get into all the exact words and all that in there, and I'm sure it will make sense that I could explain it. I may do that, but this became clear to me yesterday part of a couple things that became clear. Like just a moment, it hit me in my head, and my eyes stopped seeing the outside world basically, and I was seeing in my head a vision of these answers that I'm showing you today. And I think here's one more. Yeah. So now you understand the three crosses, the two thieves, how it's in the image of you. You can even see the center cross sits on the top of a raised area once again. And so there's lower ones, but they're also a little bit lower than the main one, which again, left and right eye. And then if your eyes are single, well, you know the rest of the story, right? All right, let's see here. Hang on a second. Okay, see, I didn't forget. And I came back. We're going to take a look at the lyrics from this song that these guys wrote, I guess, back in the 60s, something like that. So let's look at the lyrics. It says Woodstock lyrics. It says, well, I came upon a child of God. He was walking along the road, and I asked him, tell me, where are you going? And this he told me. Said, I'm going down to Yaskar's farm, going to join in a rock and roll band, got to get back to the land, set my soul free. We are stardust, we are golden, we are billion-year-old carbon, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Well then, can I walk beside you? I have come to lose the smog, and I feel myself a cog in something turning. A cog in something turning, like a Taurus or a wheel, or the turning of time, probably related to something like that. Some of what we've been talking about, especially talking about the garden, them wanting to go back to the garden. And maybe it's the time of year, yes, and maybe it's the time of man, and I don't know who I am, but life is for the learning. There is truth in here, and likely some deception. We are stardust, we are golden, we are billion-year-old carbon, and we got to get ourselves back to the garden. We are stardust, we are golden, we are billion-year-old carbon, and we got to get ourselves back to the garden. By the time we got to Woodstock, we were 500,000 strong, and everywhere was a song and a celebration. And I dreamed I saw the bomber jet planes riding shotgun in the sky, turning into butterflies above our nation. Butterflies is talking about how I showed you the image of your face and how it looked like a butterfly. It's also in how the butterfly itself looks like the point of creation, okay? And also is representative of the Ark of the Covenant, and also Noah's Ark and all of that. But in this case, I think he's talking about nuclear explosions is what he's talking about here, I think. Or at least in that one verse. And then he says, we are stardust, we are golden, we are caught in the devil's bargain, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Very interesting. Guys, give y'all guys a little bit of an update. I know I keep saying it's almost done, because it almost is done, but it always takes me longer than I hope it's going to. I give y'all guys the hoped amount of time, and then I have to do the work, and it takes me a lot longer. Plus, I don't have a great setup in my situation at the moment to be able to function, because I'm still in a hotel room. Thank goodness to y'all guys, or I wouldn't be able to make it. I appreciate all y'all guys' contributions, and hopefully one day I'll pull enough together to get out of this situation. I'm sure I will, but right now I'm here being taught something. There's lessons to be learned only if I carefully study these things with my eyes, because I could allow it to deceive me as well and to make me believe that that I deserve this somehow, or that think bad thoughts about it. You know what I mean? But really, I need to be paying attention, because I need to observe everything that I experienced during this time, such as moving into this, Roach Motel, and there's a giant tree with serpents in it right beside me. Right after I had studied and read with y'all guys the Genesis 2 and 3. And I find that absolutely fascinating. And I'm anxious to learn all about it. I'm looking at the tree right now, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, there is that. And so I'll let y'all guys know it's going to be very, very soon when we're going to do the first radio show. I've got to make sure I'm ready. I don't want to get ahead of myself at this point on this. I'm going to be taking this new adventure very, very seriously. So I look forward to taking y'all guys with me on this journey. But yes, I'll continue, in case you're wondering, making videos like this. I will continue doing this as well. With that, I hope you've enjoyed this today. I've hoped that maybe you learned something. And if you did, maybe consider being a member of my Patreon for $1 a month. You know, just anything that you could afford that you would never miss, that's the number, you know. Maybe it's $1. Maybe it's another number. Only you know. All those links and all my links, well, except to all my new stuff I'm doing, they're not in there yet, but all my regular links are down below the video in the description. I love you guys. And our Father in heaven loves us too. Especially if we start looking and can see His image everywhere. We'll talk to you again real soon. This has been Daniel Alexander Cannon here on the Logic Before Authority channel.